Now that we know how to block on a single specific word, let's expand our reach and block more than just one offensive word. Now, one trick that we have at our disposal is that we can check multiple conditions by using what is known as a logical OR expression, which means we can do something like this. If the noun is dork or the noun is jerk, exit the application. In fact, you could chain these OR statements on forever. Let's go and introduce a logical OR into our application to block the user from entering either dork or jerk.
Blocking against the word jerk in our code is actually pretty easy, and in fact the only thing I think I need to show you is what OR syntax looks like. So let's go to our if statement when we were checking for dork in the past, and let's add an OR statement in here. So we're going to do a double pipe symbol. Pipe is above the enter key. That's what OR looks like. So it's going to say noun dot equals ignore case dork, and we're going to say noun or noun equals ignore case jerk. Great. Now this line's getting a little bit long, and in fact, if we added one more OR on here, it would probably go off the screen, and then somebody might not see that it's there. So one way that we can do to battle that is because we're inside of these parentheses here, we can add a new line and take advantage of that space. So now, looks much better. While we were writing that, one thing that you might have thought was that you could do the same thing with two if statements, right? You could write this if statement here, you could say equals ignore dork, or you can make another one that says if noun equals ignore jerk. But what would happen then is that you'd be writing these same lines inside of this code block here. You'd be writing that same code twice. And that's never a good idea. All right, so let's give this a go. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to compile and run. We'll say 20. And we will do big. And we're going to put in jerk here. Great, we caught it. So let's walk that really quick. So what we've done here is we have this first line that's going to come in here. I'm going to say noun, and we put in jerk. So noun's going to be jerk. And it says if noun equals dork, and that's a false. So that's going to say false. So false or true, right? Because noun equals jerk, and it does. So we're going to say false or true. And if you imagine that, anytime that there's a true in there, it's going to be true. Okay, so let's make sure that the dork still works. Awesome, it does. You know, after using this a bit, I think we need to do something different about that exit. It would be good to give the user a second chance to enter a nicer word. Let's see if we can't fix that in the next lesson. And one more thing I wanted to show, if you wanted to do another one of these, you can always chain them with another one. So if we wanted to say another guy in here, we can say nerd. Right? Perfect. And that is how ORs work.
Great. We just learned one way that we could check multiple conditions in one if statement. By not making two identical code blocks, we avoided repeating ourselves. A goal of programming is to make sure that you don't repeat yourself, or often referred to as DRY. As you advance through your learnings, you'll hear this phrase often, and I'm sure it will be hammered into your thinking as you begin coding bigger applications. While we're here thinking about logic, I'd like to also introduce you to OR's counterpart, which is AND. While OR returns true if any statement is true, AND will only return true if all expressions are true. Logical AND uses the double ampersand symbol. As this logic is such an important concept and used all over the place, let's go back and review our dating site analogy. So an example of an OR statement is must love cats or dogs. A cat lover would be tested and she'd say, do you love cats? And she'd say, oh gee, yes, 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 yes. No need to ask about dogs, as this person definitely met the requirement. Now let's look at another example. The request is younger than 40 and has no children and loves art. This elderly gentleman is prompted how old he is, and there's no need to go on asking any further questions since he doesn't meet all the conditions. Okay, so let's take a really quick exercise around these statements before we move on.